Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of Minimal Monday wrap up number 60. Yeah, 60. 6-0. Oh boy, what an awesome week this week. I have a lot of photos to share with you guys. First of all, I do like to thank every single one of you for submitting so many wonderful shots week after week. It is truly, it blows my mind that this little theme is slowly starting to become quite popular. If I'm looking at all the images, the amount of images that is getting submitted, it's beyond my wildest dreams. So thank you a lot, every single one of you, and well, let's move forward with this week's wrap up. I had a tough time choosing my Fav of the Day award because there's so many good photographs this week, and since it's kind of a special edition, being a nice round number and all, I decided to give two Fav of the Day awards away this week. And the first one is going to go to Stefan Barler and his amazingly beautiful minimal photograph called, it's German, I need to get my German hat on, Wir Baume, basically saying 4 trees. It's Europe got dumped this week with a lot of snow, or last week, and I'm still seeing all the results of that wonderful, a good amount of snow. And Stefan found these 4 neat little trees. I believe, I don't know where it was, because I have to be honest, I didn't read the whole all the posts. It's the image that's important. But what I like about this image is the subtle shadow underneath those little trees. There's enough foreground information there as well to not make the bottom portion of this image, just blank white. There's subtle details in there, but yeah, those 4 trees are just magnificent. They're just placed perfectly, and it looks like they're placed on that hill by a photographer. This is just a perfect scene. And I mean, very well seen, very well photographed, very simple, very subtle, and very, with a, photographed with a soft hand. I like the placement as well. It creates a little bit of tension, creates a little bit of interest. And the second photograph, I like to give a Fav of the Week, a Fav of the Day award. What was I calling them? Fav of the Day award, Fav of the Week. Anyways, is this photograph by fellow countryman, aka Belgian Didier Demaret. He photographed these telephone wires, electricity wires, in, again, a perfectly covered snow landscape. Same, subtleness in this photograph. And what I like about this one is, first of all, those, a telephone line or stuff like this, like electricity poles, they create that rhythm. The lines itself, the telephone, electricity wires, the wires itself create, your leading line. And what I like about this image is actually there's, those trees in the background, or the tops of the trees that you're seeing, that's actually creating an interesting second focal point. And I really like this. This is a beautiful shot. I wish this was in my portfolio. A very similar shot was submitted by Gerard Charnley. Oh yeah, I remember your name. Very similar subject. Electricity or power poles in a on a snow-covered hill. Um, a little bit more foreground detail in this one. It has a very subtle, um, those poles make a very subtle shadow. I love this guy here in this one too. It has a lot more detail than the two other shots, but it creates this. The dynamic of this photograph is definitely the slope, the angle of the slope, and by placing those poles on one side, you yeah, that's where the interest lies, right? It's a lot of use of negative space, something that I like to use as well. And some, negative space doesn't necessarily need to be empty. Like in two previous shots, there's a lot of negative space there as well. Here's the negative space is more used as a directional guide or a buffer, to keep your eye from wandering too far in the frame. But yeah, this is a beautiful photograph. All right, let's ditch the snowscapes and go to the ocean. Katrien Dijkstra photographed the beautiful concrete. Heck, I don't know what it is. Some kind of structure that leads in the ocean. Again, this is top-notch work. This is almost using Joel Tinchelar's gradient techniques. There's so much detail in this photograph, subtle detail. And it looks like you can count every single rock or pebble in this photograph. The beautiful gradient in the water. I love the sky too. Nice and dramatic, beautiful leading line. Yeah, this is a killer shot. The next photograph I'd like to feature is something, again, a seascape, let's call it that, by okay, wait a minute. Mikael Svensson. I need to get my Swedish on. I think he's Swedish, at least some kind of Nord European name. He photographed these three rocks in a square kind of color frame. What I like about this is 3 is an interesting number of things to photograph. 3, 5, 7, something that is not even is creates interesting images. If you've seen the podcast by Ted Forbes, he's doing a whole compositional series, or a series of podcasts about compositions, and this is one of he calls it the rule of odds, and that's a perfect example. Odd numbers make for a great photography. He goes in depth into that specific rule. So yeah, definitely check it out if you're more interested in learning more about that. But this is a semi-long exposure of an ice-covered lake. Yeah, I like this. It's interesting that Michael used color on this. I like it. Good work. Here's a cool shot by David Orr. I believe he said, what was it again? It was a pretty long exposure, like a 4-minute exposure or something, of this frame. I've touched on this in the past. I like images that are subtle or have spark like a second viewing opportunity. Because at first you think like this is a pretty foggy, white, or a frame that uses a lot of white space on top, and it's a rock, and so forth and so on. But it took me a couple of tries to actually see the horizon line there and the subtle sky, and Plus, the whole bottom end of of this frame creates a pyramid, a triangle that starts from the corners, the bottom corners, and goes up to the rock. Um, Very interesting image. Beautiful light on the foreground rocks too. I don't like this. This is again, the top portion is very soft. I mean, it's not unsharp, but just subtle. And then the bottom end kind of supports that one rock that kind of almost is floating in the frame. It's a beautiful photograph, David. Good job. All right, some more seascapes. A gorgeous shot by. I should stop saying shot. I hate it myself. It's a photograph. Beautiful photograph by Gerard McGrath. Calls it Jagged Rocks. Well, that's basically what it is. It reminds me a little bit of shark teeth, or even better. There was what's that Swiss chocolate called again? Oh, Toblerone. Those triangles. Again, this is it uses a lot of subtle triangles in that make up this composition, right? The line is angled, and but the rocks are. That's what the interest is. That's where the interest lies. Long exposure, beautiful gradients, nice defined horizon line. That is, probably close on the rule of thirds. This is a beautiful photograph. All right. What about some more snowscapes? I like this one by very talented Julia Anna, because last week I got in trouble. Julia Anna Gospodarou. I need to use my hands for that. Gospodarou. Is again one of those masterfully executed snowscapes. I mean, snow is difficult to photograph as is, and especially if there's no well-defined light source. It kind of, I find it personally, I find it very hard to photograph when there's no, when it's fog and like I said, there's no direction in the light. It's tough to get definition going where you mostly need it. Juliana did a good job in creating that definition, or keeping that definition in the what I think is a track or a car track, leading up to that beautiful tree. Yeah, beautiful image. If you hear my that noise in the background, that's my wife cooking. See, she decided to come home early. Yeah. Here's another winter shot by Jens Seder. Probably the same scene as he posted last week, but this is definitely a different take on it. Good to see Jens both using color and black and white for his work. Personally, I like his black and white work a little bit more. This is a beautiful, simple square. Lots of detail in the snow-loaded trees. Beautiful sky. Gorgeous image. Oh, hi everyone. She's shy. Alright, next image. Let's get back to the desert. It's been a while. I really enjoyed watching this composition by oh god, Sairam Sundaresan. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. I don't think you've ever posted to the theme, but look at this. This is absolutely gorgeous. I wish you'd posted a little bit more to our little team. I love this. You can if you had the time to do this, you can almost count every single speck of sand in there. Beautiful light, subtle subtleties. Um, this is masterful. I love this. I mean, you could have made this into a square, but it wouldn't have been that strong of an image. Good on you to see a vertical in this. Beautiful work. All right, it's about time that Athena Carey posted something to our little team. Um, this is just an awesome little image by her. Beautiful snowscape, obviously. I believe she said she photographed this in Yellowstone, I believe it was. Um, even placing the bison, the placement of the bison is interesting. A little bit of critique here, um, and there's nothing you can do about that. But I don't like the fence sticking out of the back of the bison. Other than that, it's very. I like this beautiful foreground detail, just enough detail in the bison too to make it interesting. Um, yeah, cool image, cool image, a cool horizontal image. You know, um, and you kind of that house in the background or that building in the background. Maybe it's a barn even. That bull is the juxtaposition between those two items, subjects, and the bull looking into the direction of that um, building. The relationship between the two, that is something that sparks my interest. That's why I picked this to be included in the wrap up. Um, that is something that really, yeah, that is something that sparks my interest and makes me you know look a little closer to this image. Thanks for submitting this, Athena. Really appreciate it. All right, the next little section is all about negative space. I want to start this off by showing Chris Schofield's image. We photographed this together. If you watched my stream, you saw the portrait that he posted. Was it this week, or I posted this week? Made by him. It was last week. That was shot on this location. Just a beautiful, perfect little tree, just over over a crest of a snow-covered field. It was a gorgeous day. It was snowing. Light was as flat as a pancake, but I mean, judging from Chris's double square, he saw something that I didn't see. I like this. Good job. Here's something I would see. This is actually scary. This almost looks like one of my own photographs. This is something I definitely look for, because I think they when you shoot tops of trees in a way like this, it makes for very interesting um, images, because you distill the whole landscape down to three elements, and three well-defined elements. You define the ground, you define the sky, and then you have the trees in the middle. This is great work, Paul Simon Wheeler. This is something that is very close to my heart. Very similar approach, but photographed a little bit closer by, or I mean, with a longer focal length, was the photograph that Sandra Parlow submitted to this week's edition. There's nothing better than snow, no light, or flat light, and fog, and then add some trees or some kind of subject in the distance. killer shots, guaranteed. If you like minimalism, that is. I really enjoyed this, Sandra. And a very similar approach to the three previous photographs um, was done by Christoph Tauscher. He photographed this little brush, or maybe, yeah. The beauty of this is I have no idea what it is. I mean, it's something, a plant of some sort, but I don't really recognize it, so there's no sense of scale for me in this image. This can be a tree and miles away, or this can be some kind of weed, shot like 3 meters away. I have no idea, and that's the beauty of it. I really like this. This was shot in the Belize. Something, a location that is definitely on my list. All right, let's get back to the sea, and I want to feature this lighthouse photographed by Benoit Janssen Reynaud. Just because compositionally this is pretty good. I'm gonna tell you why in a second, but first of all, this is masterfully processed. Beautiful gradients in the sky and in the water, and the sharpness of this is, yeah. I mean, look at the benches, and look at the subtle shadows they are making. A lot of people think that we're faking these, how would I call this, fog shots, right? I mean, to be honest, some of us do, right? But this is definitely photographed in fog, where the light has no direction, and it creates these beautiful soft shadows. You can see that it's a long exposure too, because the sharpness is there in the foreground and in the lighthouse itself. But there's a little wind directional thingy there on the antenna, and if I can, that's not sharp, so that moves a little bit. Of course, it's fog, so there's not going to be a lot of wind, but still, it's a little small detail that what the weather geek in me would definitely notice. I notice that stuff. What I like about this image too is the softness of the water around the bottom of the rocks on the left hand side, but because you can see where the water level, or where the water splashes up to, because that's where the dark part is of those bottom rocks. But there's such a softness underneath that black, that it almost feels like this whole thing is floating on something like air, right? It's like the whole composition is hard against soft, This is and the processing in these rocks is pretty wicked too. I like this a lot. Beautiful shot, Benoit. Beautiful photograph. Everybody should take my my lead on this. Never ever say beautiful shot again. It's a photograph, not a shot, not a snap, not a pic. It's a photo or a photograph. You can blame me. All right, let's continue with the seascapes. Here's a beautiful singular subject, a nice little rock from my dear friend Nate Parker, who's afraid of the cold. He photographed this while it was minus 26. Ooh, boo-hoo, right? It was minus 43 with wind chill today here in Calgary, so good times. Anyway, kudos on you for going out though. Not a lot of people do, and if you do decide to go out, well, it's like ridiculously cold and minus infinity, be sure to dress appropriately. All right. Um, Cold is one thing. Wind chill is something else. An exposed skin can, once temperature drops, underneath minus 30 centigrade. I'm talking C, not F. Um, you know, Exposed skin can can freeze in as quickly as 10 minutes. So be aware of that. Be smart. Dress appropriately. This photograph by Nate is again in his beloved 4x5 format. Um, Beautifully toned. It's actually I don't see a lot of people doing this, but I like it. I like it a lot. And ever since I got to feature a lens work where they obviously print in duotone, um, I'm kind of struggling with that idea myself. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Because I really like it. Because it adds a richness to um, a, a composition, or it adds an extra element. Um, and if you actually do this in the darkroom, or on a wet darkroom print, it adds a little bit of depth as well. What I like about this photograph is it's obviously long exposure, but not too long of an exposure, because the foreground detail is absolutely ridiculous. It's subtle, but it's soft, and the juxtaposition between that and the rock. Oh, I like this. Like the subtle reflection. That is something you can only see on long exposure photographs. Um, when Nate was out there and photographing this, he probably didn't see the reflection. That's just over time. That's long exposure photography over time it shows you stuff that you can only notice over that period of time. You can, and this could have been a choppy sea, with lots of waves, and the long exposure obviously smooths things out, but it shows you details that were not visible at that time. I really like the horizon line too, and probably another rock in the distance that creates a little bit of a wake or something. But this is beyond words. Beautiful, beautiful work, Nate. All right, here's the two last images I'd like to feature. Hopefully keep it underneath the 30-minute mark, but I'm not gonna succeed. Here's an interesting image by Linda Stokes. I've been following Linda for a while now, and this is definitely one of the better photographs I've seen from her. It's a very impressionistic piece of art. I mean, a lot of photographers nowadays are afraid of imperfections, are afraid of noise, are afraid of anything that can take away from the sharpness of a print. Now, there's a big difference between blowing up a photograph to a size that is not where the the physical file cannot handle a size, and you kind of rely on Photoshop to make up for lost pixels, so to speak, or to invent pixels to come up to a size where you want to print it. Like, for instance, my 5D Mark II cannot make files, or I cannot print images 40 by 60 inches tall. I could do that by up-resing it, but then I lose definition. But anyways, I mean, this image proves that you don't have to be afraid. I mean, I don't know if the noise was created afterwards or in camera. That's really not important. But it just adds, for me personally, it adds a real quality to it. I love the, if you look at this on a big screen and you look at it as a thumbnail, it's kind of more obvious in the thumbnail that there's sun rays, light rays coming from in the left hand top left corner, shining down. This is probably photographed in fog, and obviously probably probably even at the end of the day or something. I don't know. Just very dreamy image. I like this a lot. Maybe it's not perfect, or not perfect in your 99% of photographers around the world, their eyes, but it sure is to my eyes. This is a very emotional image. Let's call it that. Beautiful work, Linda. The last image I want to show you is I'm a sucker for lone trees, but the longer I photograph with film, the more I am starting to appreciate the often imperfection of an image. There's always, I mean, if you scan something in, there's always dust, right? You can go crazy and dust the hell out of these things. There's dust, guaranteed. And then scanning it often reveals a little patches of what I think are areas where the emulsion was not perfect, that you have to clone out, or if you print in the darkroom, that you have to spot out afterwards on your print. But this image is photographed using, first of all, using a toy camera with a Holga, with probably a plastic lens, and it's photographed on Tri-X and developed in Rodinal using stand development. And all those factors make this the image that it is. The toy camera makes the edges soft. I mean, you see it in the tree on the right. There's some softness in the branches. The snow edge is not on the edges is less defined than This is just beautiful. I love the imperfections that this image has. That's what makes it perfect. It's like a human being. We're not perfect, This is a beautiful, beautiful image. I love this a lot, Ricard Lindby. I wonder if I made a spelling mistake. Probably not. Ricard Lindby. Beautiful photograph, my friend. I'm glad to see you join the theme. I enjoyed reviewing your work. A beautiful tree you found there. Alright, that was this week's Minimal Monday wrap-up. We featured 19 images in a record time of 34 minutes. Anyhow, thank you again for all your submissions this week, and I hope you see you all next week and do it all over again. All right? Have a great week, and I'll see you guys later.